Yeah, we are doing waters. Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to be doing some coin hunting today. We are going to hunt through some quarters. I have some that I've already taken out of a roll from earlier today, and then I've got plenty of rolls to go through as well. So we will be looking for heirs, varieties, special mint marks, and also looking for silver and rare coins. So here we have, flip it over and look at the other side first. We have a Harpers Ferry. This coin has a lot of possibilities for errors and varieties on it. It's 2016. One of the things possible on this quarter is in the windows, any of the windows, they could look as though they're broken, or a building could look as though it's burning. Sometimes the windows look like they're like all messed up and it looks like the building is on fire. We don't have any problems with our windows on this one or our doorways. Also want to check the top of the building on this. Right up here in the edges here, you could have die chips here in these edges that they call the cat on the roof. Also look along these edges right here to see if there is any die chips there that they call snow on the roof. It actually looks like snow sitting on top of the roof. Check your bell tower. There's nothing there either. And then we want to look at our gutter. They call it a rat on the gutter, but sometimes your gutter could look like it's broken or have something, a die chip sitting here that would look like a rat crawling down the gutter. And then we want to look at these barrels here. Sometimes it looks as though they are overflowing or leaking. All of ours look good. I don't see anything wrong with this quarter. And then on the other side of it, we're just going to check our lettering. Make sure there is nothing wrong with the lettering. Sometimes you might have letters missing. Sometimes you may have letters that have been double stamped. Everything looks good there. That one is going to go back to the bank. So in this hobby, we are not hoarding coins. We're not causing a coin shortage. We buy rolls of quarters and we search through them, and 90% of them, 95% of them, you're going to take right back to the bank because there isn't anything worth keeping in them. But there is the rare occasion that you might find something in that quarter or other coin that would make it more valuable. So most of the time you might keep 2 or 3 out of a roll of quarters. Maybe you might get lucky and find more. This app happens to be one of my favorite quarters. This is a 2007 Utah. And what I like about this one is, I'm going to move my microscope up a little bit so you can see the whole picture. There. What I like about this one is just the detail of these trains. I think this is just a really cool coin. So our lettering looks good there. Lettering looks good on the top. Sometimes when you have numbers, especially with a number 8, you may have a die chip sitting here inside the opening of the 8s. It looks where it's filled in. Everything there looks good. And then on the front side of the coin is actually called the obverse side of the coin. And we have a D mint mark. This D right here means that it was made at the Denver Mint. There is a Denver and a Philadelphia and a West Point and a San Francisco, and where the quarters are made. The W Mint made a 2019 and a 2020 quarter, and those W's are one of the things that many people are searching for. This quarter is pretty nasty. It looks as though it's got quite a bit of post damage, which means that it was, after it was minted, it was damaged once it went out into the public. That's referred to as post mint damage. And that looks good. It's going to go to the bank. Hi, honey. I see you there. Sorry, I forgot to look over at the computer to see all my comments. So on our Frederick Douglass, this one has quite a few possibilities also for die chips. Now, die chips don't always increase the value of your quarter unless it is someone who's actually looking for those. If you were to go to a coin shop or something, they're going to tell you it doesn't increase your value because it's not something that they're interested in purchasing. So you have to find someone interested in purchasing it in order for it to be more valuable. So on this one, you are going to look around his hair and around his face. There's possibility die chips there. Die chips can happen anywhere on the quarter, but I'm just going to tell you where there are some that are known for. On the lapel, somewhere in here, they call it a ladybug on the lapel. Also looking around by his hands in the paper. Check the windows. Everything there looks good. We always check our lettering for any doubling or anything like that. Missing letters can happen as well. I do have a list that I use as a reference to know what I'm looking for. Rich and I have been doing this since September, and quarters is my favorite thing to do. So I have most of the things memorized in my list, but not all of them. I do occasionally still have to look at the list to see if I'm missing anything. So this hobby doesn't really cost you anything to do unless you are going to invest in the scope or something like that. But buying the quarters or whatever coins it is that you're using, you can either just look through the change you have in your pockets or, rob your kids' piggy banks, or you can actually go to your bank, get quarters or the car wash or whatever. And like I said, you're going to turn around and send most of that right back. So you're not really spending a lot of money to do it. And it, for me, has been very relaxing and a good way for me to reduce my stress levels. And that, I'm going to zoom in on this mint mark because I really can't see what it is. I believe that is a P. They do have times where they stamped, I don't know how it happens for sure, but they have stamped a P or a D over the other, and sometimes even with an S mint mark, it got stamped more than once. That is a P. Okay. That's not a very good looking P, but it's a P. In 1983. And this 2014 is our arches. I'm going to check the top of the rocks. Anytime that you've got rocks or feathers of a bird, anytime that there's a lot of action going on, especially, you can have die chips pretty much anywhere, but those are the places where I've noticed them to be more often. And you can sell your quarters that have die chips and stuff and errors. You can sell those on, there are several different sites and stuff, auctions, stuff like that, that you can look at. But eBay is where I always check to see the value of something is selling for. But you want to make sure that you type in what you have and select the filter of sold items so that you know what it's actually sold for and not just a price that somebody's asking, because anybody can ask any price. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it. This is one of my favorites as well. This is our national park quarter. It's a Samoa. And you are looking for along the edge of the bat here on the mama bat. You could have lines right here on the edge of her face that are striations. It looks as though these kind of extended. They call it whiskers on the bat. We don't have any on this one on either side, but it is a 2020 quarter. So we are also going to check our mint mark. We're looking for that W. That's what we want. Also, one of the things is this baby bat. I'm not sure how it happened. I don't know if it's a grease error. I have not actually seen one myself, but the face of the baby bat could be completely altered, where eyes are missing. Sometimes the nose doesn't have any detail in it. We don't have anything wrong with ours, but we want it to be a W, and it is a D from Denver. So that is going to go to the bank. If you are interested in supplies for coin hunting, we do have microscopes, we have scales, we have lists of all the varieties and errors that you might find on quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies, and also mats that have some, it's like a placemat that has also, in addition to that information with the errors and varieties, it also has some pictures that will help you to understand some of those errors, what things might actually look like. They are very helpful. That is on our website at countrycoincouple.com. On our Salt River Bay, we are going to look for some doubling of these leaves, and also down here on the bottom of the roots. I always want to check the initials, make sure they look clean and not doubled. And this one also is the possibility of a W mint. Check our lettering here, and that is also a D. This is the most common quarter I see, 2021, crossing the Delaware. This one also has a lot of possibilities for die chips. You might have die chips here in the brim of the hat on these edges right here. It can go all the way across. So they call it a nest in his hat or a crown. Could start out small in the corner, or it could go all the way from one side to the other. And that they call the full crown. Also, the possibility of what they're calling the COVID mask. You would have an actual, like an extra line that goes from his face to his chin, or from his chin to his nose. They have the COVID mask or the COVID shield, depending on which way it goes, which is just an odd coincidence, I guess, that it is a 2021 quarter with a COVID mask. That is just the nickname for it. That is not actually something that the mint called it, of course. You could also have a doubling of the sword, or it might have some of those striation lines around the sword where it looks like it's flaming. And then down here, you should have 5 total oars. So you want to count the oars here. We have the long one here at the front. That's 1, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a possibility of one of those being missing. And I see nothing wrong with this one. Our most common one here that we see in Indiana is a D mint. So I usually get the Ds, and that's what that is there. 2021 D. I see these all day long. So back in September, Rich was watching TikTok, and he saw someone flipping quarters like this, coin roll hunting, and he watched it for a while, and then he asked me, his grandfather had passed away and left him a box of coins. So he asked me about these coins. We got them down, and he started going through them and continued to watch people on TikTok. And that is how he got started doing this. And then he asked me to join him once he was able to do a TikTok live. And when I saw the detail on the quarters under the microscope, I was hooked. I've been doing these coin rolls ever since then. And I really enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's just very calming to me. And here we have the Cumberland Gap. On this one, you want to check around his hat for any die chips. Check your lettering. Make sure all the letters are there in case there's a grease error. Also check around his gun if there's any extra pieces of metal. That's what the die chips are. Die chips are like a chunk of metal that shouldn't be there. And they can be anywhere on the coin. Normally, when you see one, it's shiny. And if you feel it, you probably won't notice it by feeling it with your finger on a coin. But if you were to feel it with, like I use my little pointer here, my pointer is, I'm going to try to get it in the scope. My pointer here is basically, it's a T-pin is what it is. But down here, it has a little T on it, a little end. And it's sharp like a needle, but it's kind of like a cross between a needle and a nail. And that is what I use. I just lightly touch over the coin. And if it's raised, then it would be a die chip. If it is something that is indented into the coin, then that means that it was postman damage done after it left the mint. A lot of times you'll see somebody try to cut a coin or scratches. You can see all these scratches on here. Each one of these little scratches like this are indented. So like my pen actually gets down inside there. You can feel the difference when you roll it across. And that has a lot of postman damage on it, and that is garbage. And there again is our Salt River Bay. No doubling on the leaves. Nothing on the rocks there. Lettering all looks good. And we'll check from the other side. This is the obverse side. The tail side, as you usually would call heads or tails of a quarter, the heads is the obverse side, and the tail side is the reverse side. And that is a D mint. We wanted a W. We have found a few W's since we started searching in September. And a lot of what we find are S mint. And those are usually, they were made for a set that is a proof. And they weren't meant to be out in the public, out being distributed amongst the rest of your coins, used to be paying for anything. So occasionally you find them. And actually, Rich and I really like those a lot. So when we find an S coin, we keep those because, like I said, they weren't supposed to be out in the public, and they're usually very clean, very shiny. So this one, we are looking all around for any die chips. You want to check your bird here on the rear end of the bird. There's a lot of times die chips to be there. I don't see anything on that one, and my dog is scratching to get in the room, so give me just a minute so I can open this door up. That one's going to go to the bank. On these older quarters, you want to check your dates. If it's before 1964, it's a possibility of it being silver. They were silver up till 1964. So 1965s, we wait to see if it's silver. There's a possibility, not always, not very often, but that is a possibility. A lot of times the numbers and letters, because of all the postman damage and how long they've been around, a lot of times the numbers and letters on them might be smashed. Or as you can see, this one in the Q, it's got some damage done to that. That is basically just normal wear and tear. But the older the coin is, if you see it, it looks absolutely perfect. That might be worth some money for you. And our Louisiana quarter, I checked this one around that instrument there on the horn. Sometimes the buttons might have die chips in there. And then check your bird. That looks gross. And a Salt River Bay again. This is another popular one around here in the Indiana. So no doubling of any kind on that. Check our obverse, see the letters there, all look good, and it's a D. Another thing that's a possibility with your coins, could be any coins, is that sometimes they were not struck, like it might have moved as it was struck by the, you have two dies that come together to press the coin in between and make the image in the coins on both sides. And if it has slid, possibly, you might have it where I'm going to, hopefully y'all can see when I do this. If you hold the quarter upright where George's head is straight up and down, if you were to rotate it this way, and if it weren't straight, if the picture didn't come out straight, then that could be a rotation error, that it just slid while it was being struck. And sometimes that can make it worth a little bit more money as well. It usually has to be quite a difference. It's more easy, it's easier to see on the older coins with an eagle as opposed to the pictures of the states and such on the quarters now. And that there looks like Postman Damage. You see this large scratch down by the eagle there? There's a lot of damage on this one. And this is a 1971. So for an example, if you were to hold George straight and rotate him around, your eagle comes out the right side up. It will be upside down, but it will be straight. If it's not, then that's your slight rotation error. And I believe it's about 15 degrees is what they say is the, when it becomes, more noticeable is the better. And our 2015 Kazachi, check your bird. Lots of possibilities there for die chips in that bird. I don't see anything on this one. All of our letters look good. And Apostle Islands. On this one, there's always that possibility of a die chip, but this one of the known die chips, is right around his arm here. It could be on top between his oar and his shoulder, or under the armpit. This one here, they call it a turtle on his shoulder, but I really think they should call it a chip on the shoulder. This here that you do see in my quarter, that is just the end of the canoe. It would be pretty much filled in that entire triangular area there. And back to the bank with that one. On this, you want to make sure that all those sun rays are there and your lettering. And it's got some nasty stuff on that one. It's going to the bank. All right, we're going to go through one roll of quarters. Get a roll open here. So you are looking for quarters before 1964 to be silver. We're also looking for varieties and errors and specific mint marks, S or W. Those are the ones that we would want to keep. And S being the West Point mint mark, and the S being the San Francisco. All of our lettering there looks good. And there's another cross in the Delaware. No die chip in his hat. Lettering looks good. Sword looks good. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oars. And that one's going to the bank. And again, looking for doubling on the leaves, on the stems, and in the initials. The initials here are the designers of the coin. I haven't seen any new 2022 quarters yet. I've seen them from someone else, and I've seen the pictures of them, but I have not had any myself yet. But there's been some changes in it. If you haven't seen one yet, we have women, powerful women on the reverse side of the coin, along with an eagle. And on the obverse side, the front side, George is facing the opposite direction this time. It is the first time since I believe it was in the 60s was the last time that they changed the front side of the quarter. And that is some postman damage down there below that Q. And this here, if you see this line around the edge right here, this is, they call this the ring of death. That is postman damage. And you will see that very frequently on coins, especially quarters. That happens a lot. I have been told that it's from putting them in rolls, but I've also been told that it is from them going through machines or being stacked up against other coins. Going through machines, what I'm saying is like pop machines, laundromats, stuff like that. But I believe that it's mostly from being stacked up against other coins, as in they would in a roll. This here is some postman damage there by his ponytail. I'm not sure how that happens, but I call it teeth marks because that's what it looks like to me. And that one's good, going to the bank. So if you have not ever searched through coins before, you might be wondering why I'm wearing gloves, which I am sure you have figured out that coins are very nasty. But also because if you have a coin that is in fantastic condition, like never, hardly ever been touched or something like that, and you want to have it graded, you don't want your oils of your skin to be on the quarter. It is normal that they're going to expect some marks and, you know, a little bit of something on the quarter, but you want to try to keep all the oils from your skin off the quarters, coins, whatever coin it is that you're looking through. I just wanted to double check that. It looked like a very weak strike on that feather. And that is a P mint mark, but it is filled in. You can barely tell what that is. And that is 1981. I'm just going to double check my list for 1981. is going to go to the bank. On this North Carolina, you want to check your 8s there just to see if you have any doubling or die chips in your 8. And I've also been told that there could be doubling in the airplane. I've never seen it myself. So that one, usually I get through that quarter pretty quick because you don't have a whole lot to look for on that. I do always check my lettering and everything, but that one I can usually get through pretty quick. There are some that take a little while longer because there's so much to look for on some of them. Our list that my husband made is very detailed, very helpful. Most of them are 3 pages long. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of possibilities to look for. He even has low mintage ones that are considered rare, like your 2009s. A lot of people will tell you those are rare quarters. And so he has it broken down by the mintage, so you know which ones are the more rare ones. And this is another one of my favorites. I couldn't believe this. I never would have thought there was Braille on a quarter, but there is a Helen Keller quarter. And from what I understand, it says her name in Braille. But I think that is a really cool quarter. I've never seen anything wrong with that one either. So if you are a coin hunter, whether you're just beginning or whether you've been doing it for a while, you might want to check us out on TikTok. My husband and I do some game nights and stuff on TikTok Live. We have a really good time. We have a lot of followers on there that join us, and we sometimes just have a night where we sort through quarters. Sometimes I just go through whatever coin by myself. Like today I was on for a while and we went through pennies. I asked everybody what they wanted to sort through, and they wanted to learn about pennies, so that was what we did today. But we play a lot of games when my husband is home and on TikTok with me, and we give away some prizes and we talk about all kinds of fun stuff, and it's a really good time. So if you're on TikTok, go ahead and check us out at Country Coin Couple and make sure you're following us. We've got a fan club that you can join, and we give away prizes. We send someone in the fan club a prize once a month just for being a member of the fan club. On this Nevada quarter, you want to look around the horse here. There's a possibility of what they call a pooping horse. It's usually on this horse up here at the top or on this one, but it's a die chip that you usually find around the horse's knees, and that is what they call the pooping horse. Also, when you have a banner like this, check your lettering, because you could have doubling in that banner. And up at the top, you got your 8. Make sure that's not filled in with a die chip. Yeah, everything there looks good other than that filth. Yeah, it's got a lot of damage on it. And that one's going to go to the bank as well. $19.65. So we are going to put that one on the scale just to see if that one is silver. They stopped making silver quarters in 1964, but there is a possibility when they made the 65 that might be silver. So if it is silver, it's going to weigh a little bit different than a non-silver quarter. The silver quarters, they were before 1964, were 90% silver. And it should weigh, a regular quarter should weigh 5.67 ounces. I'm sorry, grams. And if it's over 5.9, then it would be silver. And we are at 5.7. So that one is going to go back to the bank. Of course, if it were silver, it would be worth its weight in silver. And a lot of people actually purchase coins because they are silver to, hold on to and possibly, keep for their grandkids or whatever the case might be as a means of financial. We did see, we went to a coin shop and saw somebody buying like large silver coins, large amounts of silver. And they just buy them and stash them until, they retire. They build up so much that they can have, a financial support through their coins. There's another cross in the Delaware. We have no dyed chips on his hat, no COVID mask. Initials look good. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oars on our boat. And no doubling of any kind of the letters. Everything looks good. And we have another Salt River Bay, but this one is rather filthy. Yuck. And it's a P. Thank God. I don't like it when the good ones are dirty. So we wanted a W, but not on that one. It was too dirty. That was gross. So your mint mark, that W mint mark, if you happen to find a quarter that's W mint mark, it is going to be an increase in value. I don't like saying how much of a value things are worth because on some channels you're not allowed to do that. So we won't do that. But I will tell you that if you're looking for the value of a coin, you can look at a red book. Where my red book is here. If you have a question and you're watching on Facebook or on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, however way you're looking at watching this video, you can message us. You can send me an email or however you choose to get a hold of us. And I can then tell you possible values of a coin. But this is the United States 2022 Red Book. This tells you everything you need to know other than varieties. You have, first you need to find out what kind of coin you're looking for. This is small cents, so they're pennies. You find the year and then the mint mark. And then next to that, you have the mintage. This tells you how many were actually made. And then these abbreviations at the top up here going across the rest of the page tell you a grading scale. So your grading scales could be, as for an example for these pennies, would be G4, which would mean it would be good and it'd be graded at a 4. It goes all the way up to a PF63 and an MS63. You see those? MS60, those are the grading, as in sometimes it might be extra fine or it be almost uncirculated, meaning, it doesn't have very much damage done to it. So therefore, after you find out what it is graded, which you could have it sent away to be graded, then you would go down the scale here based on what coin you read from across and find the value of the coin. That is if you were to take it to an auction or to a coin shop or something like that to be sold. Other than that, you can look up on a website called Gray Sheet that tells you the value of coins as well. And like I said earlier, if you have a coin that has an error or is really rare or something, you can type it in on eBay and find out what it's selling for, but make sure that you hit the filter for sold items, not just looking at what someone's asking for the price of. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that 1992 other than the fact that it had a lot of Postman Damage on it. And on this Vermont quarter, you want to check your buckets here. There's a possibility of die chips coming from the bottom of these buckets where it looks like they're leaking or broken, like the waters or maple syrup, whatever you got there is just pouring out of them. Also check your lettering for any grease errors. If there's a grease error, that means that a letter would be missing. It often happens with numbers or letters. Basically, the way that I explain that is there are two die that come together to make the coin. Imagine it being a cookie cutter. If you use a cookie cutter and you push it down in the cookie dough and you do the same one over and over and over again, if you don't clean off that cookie cutter, it'll have dough inside it, and then it's not going to cut another cookie. But with these die that come together, they have to grease them or oil them. And so when they grease them up, if the grease remains in the little pockets that's making the print, then it's not going to come out because it's going to have grease in it. So that's why I refer to it as a cookie cutter, because if it's filled with grease, it's not going to leave that mark, just as a cookie cutter would with dough. And that's what causes a grease error, where you would have a missing letter or number or part of your picture missing on the quarter, whatever the detail is. It does happen. Technically, they are supposed to clean those quite frequently, and all kinds of errors can happen, but they have a control department or what have you that inspects them before they go out, and most of those are not supposed to get out. Sometimes they do. And nothing on that 1991. That looks good. On the Illinois, I don't have anything on my list for this one, but always check those 8s, make sure they're not filled in, and make sure all your stars are here. Everything looks good. A little bit of Postman Damage on the sides there. And lettering. All looks good. If you have a coin that you think has something wrong with it, but you're not quite sure, you can Google the original. That is how I always, when I'm not sure if it's something that's wrong or not, I just Google the proof. If you just type in the quarter that you have, you would type in, the year and the name of whether it's a state or territory quarter or whatever you have. Type that in on Google and then hit proof, and it'll come up from the mint. It'll say U.S. Mint, and you can see exactly what the original is supposed to look like. So this is the Marsh Billings Rockefeller. This one has also a possibility of quite a few die chips and errors here. This one, there's the possibility of a die chip being right here under her elbow. Sometimes it's just a little itty bitty dot, but I have one that has filled up almost this entire area here between her lap and her elbow. Also around the shovel, and looking at the little tree there that she's planting. This one doesn't have anything wrong with it that I see. You want to look at her hair. I have heard that there could be a die chip where it looks like she's wearing a ponytail. Not seen that one. And then you want to check your letters also. Everything on this looks good. And this one, we want this to be a W. This one has possibility of it being a W, and it would also have a little emblem over here that has V75, which is the memorial date of the war. All looks good. It's a D there, going to the bank. So we have just a little bit of quarters left before we finish for today. So if you're interested in learning more about coin hunting, you can watch us on TikTok, also on Facebook and YouTube under the name Country Coin Couple, and visit our website, countrycoincouple.com. We have a lot of useful information there, including our lists of varieties and errors to look for on pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. We also have mats that have some information there as well, with varieties, errors, rare quarters, what is silver, what's not silver, or copper, along with some pictures to help you recognize the difference in some of the errors and varieties. And there's another cross in the Delaware. Nothing on our hat. No COVID mask to look for there. Our sword looks good. Lettering looks good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oars all there. And there's another Delaware D. We got just 4 more quarters, guys. We have lots of videos on TikTok also to teach you of different errors and possibilities, things that we have found. And that has no doubling. We want that W. Come on, W. Oh, it's a D. And our Virginia, we check our 8s. We look over the boats. I've never really seen any errors on these, any die chips or anything on it. And it's kind of hard to see if there was, because the raised of the sails there. So I have never really found anything on it. Everything looks good. Gonna go to the bank. All right, our last quarter. And the old state line, everything there on our Maryland quarter looks good. We're checking through our lettering. Yep. And that's that. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us or message us on TikTok at Country Coin Couple. And check out our website. You can also email us there and join our website, or join our fan club, countrycoincouple.com, and you have the possibility of winning a prize. We give away a lot of prizes, so make sure you join us for TikTok events and join that fan club. All you have to do is sign up. It doesn't cost you anything. You put in your name, your phone number, your email address, and we will use that information to contact you if you have won something. So it's been nice chatting with all of you. Hopefully you learned something from me today. And like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks a bunch. You guys have a wonderful evening.